Nobody anticipated Kimmy Scott's outburst. Not Maurice, certainly not the cameras, and certainly not the crew. However, in a startling turn of events on set, she got to her feet, slapped him, and looked him in the eyes. A full-on slap indeed. It was loud enough to make the whole room quiet. And what set it off? Kimmy lost it when Maurice made a strong, loud, and extremely insulting statement. What he said and what followed will astound you. This isn't just another marriage and love dispute captured on camera. You know, this was the tipping point. And it was evident to all. If you believe that Kimmy Scott was the calm, collected person who always managed to keep her composure, you are mistaken, because her relationship with Maurice was anything but peaceful. We're revealing the whole narrative of what actually transpired in today's deep dive, the backstage rumors regarding their relationship problems that fans were unaware of, as well as Maurice's real words that caused Kimmy to lose it. And believe me, this is about far more than a simple smack. We'll go over everything in detail, including the months-long tension, the cast members' real-time reactions, and the aftermath that left fans and insiders in full shock. You won't believe who attempted to intervene and how that made everything worse. So stay with us through to the very finish. Oh, and producers allegedly attempted to omit one item from Maurice's statement. It becomes intriguing at this point. Let's go back in time a little before we reach that spectacular moment that left Maurice speechless. Because what transpired wasn't a spontaneous outburst. No, this was what had been simmering behind the scenes for months of silent annoyance, hushed disputes, and subtle shade. Kimmy has always been that rock, the mediator, and the one who made an effort to keep her family together even when the cameras captured friction. As anybody who has followed love and marriage in Huntsville knows, however, something has been strange lately. Fans became aware of it. Her smile seemed more forced. Her normal grace was gradually giving way to quietness, and she would turn away when Maurice spoke. Production-related insiders claim that after Maurice started promoting a highly visible family brand narrative that Kimmy wasn't quite on board with, things started to go apart. According to sources, he intended to emphasize the power couple image further for commercial purposes, including endorsements, interviews, and appearances. Kimmy, however, felt that she was being forced into a position that didn't accurately represent the reality behind the scenes. And let's not overlook her experiences, managing a blended family and battling her health while being filmed under continual strain. This wasn't just a slap in the face for Kimmy, it was an eruption, one that had long been simmering beneath the surface. However, during what was meant to be a routine cast discussion, the real heat started on set. Even the crew couldn't believe what they heard when Maurice opened his mouth to say something so loud, so contemptuous, and so arrogant. And just what did he say? Hold on though, for that will be revealed in part 2, and it will completely alter the situation. Let's now discuss the instance that completely altered the atmosphere in the room. The cast was seated, the cameras began rolling, and the atmosphere was immediately tight. A source close to the crew claimed that the scene was set up by the producers to highlight the couple's unsolved problems and candid conversation. Reality show code 4 is that fireworks are what we want, and they got precisely that, fireworks. Leaning forward and raising his voice a notch, Maurice tried to take charge of the conversation by saying something loud enough to silence the entire set. "You behave as though you are a burden as my wife. It's possible that you forgot I saved you. Preserved her?" Before the actual slap ever occurred, that one sentence was like a slap in the face. The actors froze. Everyone knew there was a boundary you don't cross. So even the workers allegedly fell silent. Particularly not when it comes to Kimmy, who has repeatedly stated that she doesn't play the damsel in distress. Emotionally, financially, and in other ways, she has always been independent. Now, to put things in perspective, Maurice was talking about the early years of their partnership, when he assisted Kimmy in adjusting to a more public existence, handling legal and business issues jointly. But it was a display of vanity and entitlement the way he stated it in front of everyone, on video, not to mention Kimmy's own personal struggles, such as her recent battle with cancer, which she has managed with remarkable grace. Maurice showed a tremendous amount of disrespect by acting as though her security and success were dependent on him. Maurice attempted to laugh it off immediately after making that statement, stating, "I mean, come on, babe," which just serves to exacerbate the situation. It's true, you know that. However, that chuckle simply made everything worse. Kimmy's expression shifted. The calm expression she usually wears like armor was gone. it was replaced with unadulterated hatred, a smoldering, silent rage that declared, "I've had enough." Then it took place. Before anyone could stop her, Kimmi got up, approached Maurice, and slapped his cheek with an open, clean palm while the camera was still filming. No shouting, no showmanship, a single strong move that had a louder echo than any words. The room was in disbelief. According to reports, Marcel dropped his drink. Tisha let out a gasp. Not even the producers knew if they should cut or continue filming. Here's what they don't want you to know though. One of the actors attempted to step in, someone who has spent months quietly observing Kimmi's emotional breakdown. Furthermore, their intervention just made matters worse. Why? Because they too had secrets. Kimmi was also prepared to reveal them. Time essentially stopped after the smack that reverberated across the set. Maurice did not strike back. He didn't shout. He did not leave. He simply sat there in utter silence, red-faced and astonished. The man who frequently took great satisfaction in dominating the story had gone insane. In front of the cameras, the producers and eventually the fans too, not just the actors. However, the cast wasn't hanging around while Maurice was still digesting what had just transpired. First, let's discuss who responded. Letitia Scott herself, Tisha, hurried over to Kimmi to soothe her rather than fight or confront her. Here's the crazy part. Even Tisha, who has a history of conflict with Kimmi, was clearly shaken. According to insiders, Tisha said something along the lines of, "Girl, it's not worth it," attempting to diffuse the tension. Marcelo, her own husband, was overheard whispering to himself, "This is going viral." And he wasn't mistaken because producers were already making decisions about whether to halt production or let the drama to play out in a matter of minutes. Here's the worst part though. They were aware that this would be the season's high point, an authentic, unscripted explosion that was impossible to make or imitate. They also realized that this was TV gold, despite their worries about limits being broken. Let's go back to Kimmi. She didn't cry. She didn't say sorry. She didn't even take a seat again. Rather, she refused to back down, looked directly at Maurice, and stated, quote, "I will never let you rewrite my story just to make yourself look strong. Make a drop." This was more than a fit of wrath. Since Kimmi has never been the kind to suddenly lose her temper, years of emotional repression finally came to a head. Let's face it though, Maurice had been pushing her limits in public for far too long, and he went too far this time. This is where it becomes even more complex. The actors split into two distinct groups as soon as the scene was over. Those who supported Maurice and those who sided with Kimmi. According to reports, Mauro pulled Maurice aside and said, "Bro, you're losing the narrative," in an attempt to defuse the situation. "Take care of this before it becomes a PR catastrophe." "YALL better not cut that," Stormy Steele, who has always been outspoken, was heard urging producers. The world must witness the true meaning of contempt. Even more astounding is the fact that an off-camera crew member revealed that Lamb's executive producer, Carlos King, was watching the video in real time and promptly requested a private meeting with Kimmi. Why? Because there were worries that she would quit the show completely. Not to mention marriage and love. Couples are the lifeblood of Huntsville. There would be a significant loss of dynamic, balance, and audience loyalty if Kimmi left. The most startling thing, though, was that Maurice did not follow Kimmi after the slap. She wasn't pursued by him. He didn't ask her how she was doing. Evidently shaken, he remained with the crew and reportedly told a producer, "I don't even know who she is anymore." And that alone says it all, as it's possible that he never did. The wildest part, however, is still unknown to fans. On their own phone, one cast member captured the full uncensored incident. Additionally, there are rumors that raw video may be leaked before the show even airs. We will leave that astounding information for part 4, but you won't believe who's responsible for that. We examine the cast interviews, the social media uproar, and how this one incident changed the course of the entire program in the leaked video and fan reactions. The drama was short-lived on set. Rumors of what transpired between Kimmi and Maurice began to circulate like wildfire within 48 hours. Not only on social media, but also within the cast. The whole Huntsville fandom turned into a full-fledged probe, as was to be expected. Let's go back to the first leak though. A blurry 14-second footage was published by an unidentified Twitter account that is now thought to be owned by someone very close to production. It displayed the actors fumbling to react, Kimmi in mid-slap, and Morica's shocked reaction. Despite the lack of music, the film received over 3.2 million views in a single day, and there was a lot to say from the supporters. Since season 3, Kimmi has been suppressing this. It was inevitable for Maurice. I don't blame her if she's leaving. She was publicly humiliated by that man for far too long. Does this mean that Maurice and Kimmi's marriage is about to end? But hold on, the leak affected more than simply the plot of the show. It led to a thorough investigation. According to reports, Carlos King and Obian's legal team started an internal investigation to determine who took the video on their own phones and why it was posted so fast. Although no official names have been made public, sources are accusing a new production assistant of having a grudge against the Scotts because of her connections to another reality star. The worst aspect of this disaster is that, not long after the clip was released, an unedited audio recording started making the rounds, one in which Kimmi's reaction was provoked by the very loud comment that Maurice was heard making. "What you believe your value is irrelevant to me. This family was created by myself. You became relevant because of me." Take a moment to process that. The fans' reaction swiftly changed from shock to rage, as those words struck like a slap of their own. According to many, Kimmi's outburst was the result of years of emotional neglect and public humiliation, and Maurice was accused of long-term emotional manipulation. Timelines, breakdowns, and user-made emotional abuse receipts were all over Reddit threads. Instagram fan accounts and bloggers started reposting earlier episodes where Maurice gaslit, interrupted, or ridiculed Kimmi on camera. The public opinion court is not in favor of Maurice. Other cast members even started to make subtle comments. Stormy shared a mysterious Instagram tale. "Being silent when someone disrespects you only works if they understand that your quiet will only last." Although she didn't make a statement, Melody Hole, who has experienced personal betrayal before, liked other postings that commended Kimmi for her tenacity. Additionally, a like is a big statement on reality TV. Not to be overlooked is Owen's reaction. An insider stated that the full slap and its aftermath will be shown in the upcoming episode, unedited and uncut, even though the network did not issue an official press statement. As if the love and marriage weren't enough, this weekend's social media pages in Huntsville shared a teaser. The silence, the smack, and the ensuing storm. Nothing will be the same. Now what? Fans, however, are calling on Maurice to answer for his actions. Some even recommended a complete spin-off series for Kimmi and demanded that he be taken off the show. Here's the twist though. Maurice is not going to back down. He says he will be honest about what happened on set, what caused Kimmi to lose it, and what fans didn't anticipate when he does a live stream interview next week. Kimmi has also remained silent. Additionally, one post was made on her Instagram story by her team. "Women don't always yell when they're angry. She slaps and walks at different moments. The stakes increase with each hour. The consequences has evolved beyond a simple slap. It concerns betrayal, respect, and the breaking point of a woman who silently carried her marriage." As usual though, this story has one more startling dimension.